Hello everyone. Today our group will present about speech act and events, and our group consists of Aldrin, Audry, Maya, Fernando, Royan, and me myself. Next slide, please. Aldrin, next slide, please. Okay, so there are three components in speech acts, which are locutionary act, illocutionary force, and perlocutionary effect. Locutionary act is the physical act of uttering or the actual words the speaker is saying. And the illocutionary force is the communication force of utterance or the intended meaning of the utterance by the speaker. And perlocutionary effect is the hearer's reaction to the speaker. The simple example in daily life is when you are greeting your friend with hello, how are you? Your friend might be answered with hi, I'm fine, thank you. From that simple conversation, it has all of the three speech act components. The locutionary one is hello, how are you? Which is your actual words. And then the illocutionary one is for greeting your friend, which is your intended meaning. And last, the perlocutionary one is hello, I'm fine, thank you, which is might be your friend reaction. So in the next slide, I will give you another examples with pictures in the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the first example. So as you can see on the screen, the locutionary one is when the therapist say comfortable, and the illocutionary is the girl is asking if the man is comfortable or not, and the perlocutionary is no comfort therapy, which is the hearer's reaction. Next slide, please. And the second example is, as you can see on the screen, there are wife and husband, and the wife is said, I'm pregnant, is the locutionary one, and the illocutionary is the wife is telling the husband that she is pregnant, and the perlocutionary is, hi pregnant, I'm dead, which is the hearer's reaction. So I think that's all from me. The next slide will be presented by Royan.
Okay. Okay, so next is about IVID. IVID stands for illusionary force indicating device. IVIDs are supposed to be elements or aspect of linguistic devices which indicate either that the utterance is made with a certain illusionary force or else that it constitutes the performance of a certain illusionary act. Illusionary force refers to the speaker's intention in conveying the utterance or the type of illusionary act performed by the speaker. Usually, there is a performative verb that explicitly mentions the illocutionary act performed, but speakers do not always perform their speech act explicitly. For example, it will be fun. It may have two meanings. I promise you that it will be fun, or I assure you that it will be fun. In addition to performative verbs, IVID can be identified by word order, mood, stress, and intonation. So that's all for me. The next method will be presented by the next person. I'm sorry.
All right, so next is velocity conditions. It is a state when the utterance has met the appropriate conditions such as appropriate context, conventional existence, authority, and also speaker's sincerity. For some clear cases, the performance will be infectious if the speaker is not a specific person in a special context. For example, uh, a doctor said to the family member of the patient that he only has 6 months left, 6 months left to live, and so he has the right to say that because he's a doctor and of course in a hospital. Okay, for the next slide, please. Okay, so in everyday context, there are also preconditions on speech acts. First one is general conditions. They can understand the language being used and they are not play acting or being nonsensical, so they must understand and comprehend what are you saying. And content conditions As for both a promise and a warning, the content of the utterance must be about a future event. Then, uh, a further conditions for a promise requires that the future event will be a future act of the speaker, and then the preparatory conditions. It's like the event first will not happen by itself, and second, the event will have a beneficial effect for a promise context. When it is a warning context, there are the following preparatory conditions. The speaker or the hearer knows the event will occur, but the speaker does think the event will occur and the event will not have a beneficial effect. Then the sincerity conditions. It is a genuine act depends on the context and the essential conditions. It covers the fact that by the act of uttering depends on the context. And yes, that's all from me. Next will be presented by next person.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the Speech Act classifications. So the first one is declarations. So declarations are speech acts that via their expression can transform the situation of the world. So the speaker usually must have particular contextual privileges to do the speech act appropriately. For example, a manager can say, "You're fired," and then a judge can say, "I sentence you 3 years in prison." And last, a priest might say something like, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." The second one is representatives are speech actions in which the speaker expresses his or her belief in the truth of the stated claim. So the speaker's utterances are based on their observation of particular objects, followed by a statement of a fact or opinion based on that observation. For example, someone can say, "This donut is delicious," like, "Oh, that girl is so beautiful," and maybe like, "Oh, Colin Hoover is the best book writer." So whether or not this sentence is true, we can judge them by the speaker's opinion. So the speaker can state the sentence based on the fact or just give their own opinion. Then the next one are expressives. So expressives are a form of speech act in which the speaker's expression is shown through the utterance. They convey the speaker's feeling regarding a situation such as pleasure, pain, likes, dislikes, joy, or sorrow. These speech acts can include thanking, apologizing, welcoming, and congratulating. For example, saying like, "I'm sorry, I'm very disappointed, and thank you very much." Next slide, please. Aldrin, next slide, please. Okay. Then the next one we have directives. Directives are those that are intended to get someone else to do something that the speaker wants. So these speech acts can include requesting, questioning, command, orders, and suggesting. For example, saying like, "Be quiet, please," or "Could you turn off the lamp, please?" And last one is, "Don't forget to brush your teeth before you go to bed." And then the last one, we have commissives. So commissive speech acts are the act of committing of future actions. This form of speech act expresses the speaker's intention for something to happen in the future. So this including promising, threatening, offering, and refusal, and also pledges. For example, saying sentence like, "I will bring your favorite book tonight," and then, "I'm going to Paris tomorrow," and the last example is, "Don't worry, we'll be there." And the next slide is going to be explained by another person. I'm sorry. Next slide, Aldrin.
So the next part of the presentation would be direct and indirect speech. Uh, it is our way of communicating things that can be interpreted differently. Uh, in English itself, our way of communicating can be interpreted differently, such as when we said something like this. For example, the first one is close the door, which is an imperative sentence. Imperative sentences are usually direct with the speaker wants the hearer have to do. This can be seen that way because native English speakers are usually indirect on what do they want from the hearer. For example, the first one here we have, did you have to stand there? Which is a question. In this case, uh, the speaker wants the hearer to move out of to move out from the door by saying it indirectly. It also differs when the speaker said something like this. For example, like you're standing right in the center of the door, meaning that the speaker wants the hearer to move out uh, like that instant. And in fact, native speakers usually associates indirect speeches with politeness. So it's like a normal way to ask someone for something. For example, like, could you pass the plate or could you pass the glass or something like that. And that is all from me. The next one will be presented by another person.
Okay, so we have come to this part, which is the speech event. So what is it? What is a speech event? So a speech event is a type of utterance that can only occur when two parties are having a conversation, and there has to be an outcome from this conversation that is determined by the general consensus or agreement between these two parties that are conversing or having a conversation with each other. So the gist of the speech event is that speech event is an activity which participants interact via a language, the source of the communication, in some conventional way to arrive at some outcome or the consensus. Okay, so here are the examples for the speech event. So as you can see, let me narrate it. Honey, I just met my old pal Elliot, and she said, "Oh, really? That's great. Where did you meet him?" And he responded, "In the bar earlier this morning. I was so excited." And Hon, I thought you were going to the workplace this morning. And honey, I can explain. Explain once you get home. But honey, Elliot is here. No buts. Okay, honey, I will come home. So we can see that the wife or I mean the husband is busted for not going to the work because you can see that it's early in the morning he goes to the bar rather than his workplace. So this the general consensus comes when her wife told him to come home, to go back home, and he can only expire with okay honey, I will come home. So they finally reach a consensus where the husband needs to come home. Okay, so I think that's it for the speech event, and let's move on to the next slide. Oh, okay, so it's finished. Thank you, Paono, for listening to our presentation, and I hope you enjoy our presentation for today. And we see you in the next assignment. Thank you, sir.